Hello and welcome to Finding Your Frequency, the show where we meet people here in North Florida, find out who they are, where they're at, where they're going, and what it takes to get there. This week we are joined by John Chick from the Diocese of St. Augustine, the Catholic Diocese here in North Florida. You are the Director of Prison Ministry.
Correct.
Now, for everybody who says, I know that guy. Yep, John's a former Jaguar. Played in the CFL, did some time with the Indianapolis Colts as well. So former football player, went from the locker room to the prison. How did that happen?
Grace of God, really. I had started a business when I retired, and real focused on Christ-centered. You know,
Right.
I love the training. I love the pursuit of training the body, but with that we had mission, and we had all kinds of things that kept it Christ-centered. But to answer the question, we would do monthly missions, and they were in the works of mercy. And for about 2 years straight, prison ministry came and went, and we didn't get into the prison. And I didn't even know where to start. I had got invited to a retreat that at the time I couldn't commit my time to, and at the same time I'm doing men's programs, helping people in a lot of these areas that these guys are struggling. And when the pandemic happened, we were kind of trying to figure our way, trying to seek the Eucharist. And in that search, heard a call from the pulpit says, as soon as prisons open back up, we're going in to visit. And my wife and I were at opposite ends of the pew with our 11 kids. And we knew that that was a calling. And so I signed up, went and volunteered at first one was at Florida State Prison. And just like it says in Scripture, when you visit me in prison, I encounter Jesus Christ more than I had in any other place in my life. And that was the childhood I grew up in. My dad was very involved in works of mercy, something I had been seeking for a long time. And when I found that, I knew that's where I was supposed to be.
John, what was it like when you walked into the prison the very first time? You heard the door close behind you. You said you were going in to find Christ, and obviously there's joy in that, but walking into a prison is not a joyful place.
Right.
Can you recall what your emotions were?
When you think of poverty, when you think of the hardships of this world, it is a culmination of that. And it is a compound. It is not a pleasant place to see. It's not pleasant smells. And it's intentionally done that way. Even the way they paint is just kind of makes it monotone, I guess, if that's the right word. But met up with a group of 10, 12 guys in a parking lot, began in prayer, said a rosary on the way out there. So, we were just on fire before it started. None of that affected anything. Had no, I wouldn't say no hesitation.
Okay. But
the fear was gone because of the support group that I had there. And like I said, when you first visit, these guys are in confinement. Some of the other places are open population. They're coming to a chapel. But my first experience was in the hardest of hard places, and the encounter was all the more real. And the spiritual realm is existent. You found people, many of them rock bottom, but they are asking, seeking, and knocking. And they're in their word, and if you're not careful, they probably know it better than you and I.
Yeah.
So you better be ready to answer some questions about the Lord, which was awesome.
So what's the biggest challenge that you face with the diocesan prison ministry?
People and time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have 38 institutions, 17 county jails, and of that is about 30,000 inmates. With the diocese, obviously we're Catholics, so we're not just ministering to Catholics, but we do have an obligation to our Catholics, and that represents about 4,200 people. And again, they're spread out everywhere. And so the biggest gap is we have that many people to visit, but we have maybe 65, 70 active volunteers, which seems like a lot.
Right.
But when you're talking about 65, 70 parishes, we're short.
Yeah.
And you don't want to shortchange their time because they don't have many visitors. And so when you're in there, man, you want to give them every ounce of yourself, of your presence.
Right.
Yeah.
So finding your frequency means dialing in your vision, right?
Right.
So what is your frequency, your vision for the prison ministry 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, when you have it crystal clear and can hear it clearly? What's it sound like?
That vision would be just like I see our Right to Life community, like I see youth ministry at every parish, at every church. You know, you have these fantastic groups, and a lot of them, again, doing great things. Even Knights of Columbus, you know. Where I found myself is sometimes it feels self-serving because you're not out in the trenches. You're not out in the suffering, you know. The vision would be, hey, finding a coordinator at each parish, creating a team that would be just taking the Lord's example, 10 to 12 deep,
okay.
You know, 12 disciples.
Right.
And forming those teams that go out and they're taking care of a prison, adopting a jail, and maybe working with another parish to tackle this and saying, hey, we love you, we haven't forgotten you. Because my vision, what I believe is, this is where Jesus went.
Right.
And when I look at the world, you know, there's a lot of talk on awake and woke and all these kind of things, is service is what we're called to. And many of us, we have an appearance of freedom that isn't free. And in my encounter in there with these guys is, they're at rock bottom, but many of them are freer than a lot of us because they have found the source of the freedom. And what they need and what their hope is community.
Right.
You know, whether it's an addiction or a bad family circumstance or whatever it is the cure to that isn't stoicism, isn't just, it's community. And so many of these guys didn't come up with maybe the community or the family that you and I did. And so to show that we love them and that we are that community. And so again, that vision would be, man, we're on fire. We have teams from every parish that are going in, and then we're able to full circle it, and we got halfway houses. We're supporting the halfway houses because when they come out, it's 85% chance of them going back in, unless they have a halfway house or some place that will help them transform from where they were this period of time.
If someone listening to this heard your words like you heard the Pope's that day, how do they find you to help?
You can reach me on the Diocese website. You can go to the prison ministry there, and you can find me on Facebook. But jchick@dosafl.com is my email.
Great.
You can reach me there.
That's a great way to find you. John, thanks for taking the time to come in.
Yeah.
Best of luck building that vision.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We'll see you next time on Finding Your Frequency.